Have you ever been laughed at in public, made to feel like you didn't belong? That night, at my sister's engagement party, people smiled to my face and mocked me behind my back. They thought I was nobody. Just another failure in the family. But what they didn't know was this. In just a few minutes, a man would walk through that door, stop the entire room, and say my name out loud. "Sir, the CEO has arrived to see you." And suddenly, the laughter disappeared. This is not just my story, this is for everyone who was ever underestimated. My name is Ahmed. And if you're new here, this channel shares real-life inspired stories about patience, revenge without words, and silent success. Make sure you watch till the end, because the lesson waiting for you might change how you see yourself forever. The engagement hall was already full when I walked in. Soft music played in the background. Crystal lights reflected off polished floors. Everyone looked perfect that I didn't. I wore a plain jacket. No designer label. No expensive watch. The moment people noticed me, their expressions changed. Some smiled politely, others whispered. One of my cousins leaned toward another and said, "Why did he even come?" Another laughed quietly. "He never fits in at events like this." I pretended not to hear it, but every word landed exactly where it was meant to. I walked deeper into the hall. Past relatives I hadn't seen in years. One greeted me first. I had to nod, smile, acknowledge them. It felt like I was invisible. Until they wanted something to joke about. At the dinner table, a cousin across from me smirked. "So, what are you doing these days?" he asked. Before I could respond, he added, "Still working on those big ideas?" A few people laughed. Not loud, but loud enough. I kept my voice calm. "I'm working," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "Working where?" I paused for half a second. "On something of my own." That was enough. Someone shook their head, another chuckled and said, "Same story every year." I didn't argue that, I didn't explain. I focused on my plate, slowly taking a sip of water. Inside, I felt nothing. No anger. No embarrassment. Just patience. From where I was sitting, I could see the main entrance of the hall. Security stood near the doors. They checked their watches, whispered into their earpieces. No one else noticed, but I did. Someone at the table leaned closer and said, "You should really get a stable job. Life doesn't wait forever." I smiled, not because it was funny, because I knew something they didn't. The music lowered slightly. The security guard straightened his posture. I glanced at my watch, right on time. The doors opened. Not slowly. Not dramatically. Just enough to change everything. 2 security guards stepped inside first. Their eyes scanned the room. Conversations faded. Laughter dropped. People turned in their chairs, trying to see what was happening. Then he walked in. Tall. Calm. Expensive suit. You could feel the shift the second he entered. Someone whispered, "Is that him?" Another voice followed. "That's the CEO." The man stopped just inside the doorway. He didn't look around the room. Didn't acknowledge the guests. Instead, he asked one simple question. "Where is Ahmed?" The room went silent. Every head turned. Slowly. Directly. Toward me. A cousin laughed nervously. "Wait. Ahmed?" Someone else whispered. "Which Ahmed?" The CEO's assistant pointed. "Sir, that's him." He was pointing at me. I stood up. Chairs scraped the floor. Eyes widened. I could feel confusion in the air. The CEO walked straight toward my table. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not for me, but for everyone watching. He stopped in front of me. Extended his hand. "Good to finally meet you in person," he said. His voice was steady, professional, respectful. I shook his hand. Likewise, I replied. That was all it took. The same cousin who mocked me earlier sat frozen, his smile gone. Someone dropped a fork. Another guest whispered, "Oh my God." The CEO glanced around the table, then back at me. "We should talk," he said. "Somewhere quieter." I nodded. As I stepped away from the table, I could feel every eye following me. No one laughed anymore. No one whispered. They just watched. Behind me, I heard someone say softly, "I didn't know it was him." Another replied. None of us did. As we walked toward the private lounge, the CEO leaned closer and said, "I appreciate you keeping this discreet." I smiled slightly. So do I. The room didn't feel the same anymore. People were still smiling, still pretending. But now, their smiles were careful, forced. I returned to the main hall alone. The CEO had stepped outside to take a call. And suddenly everyone felt brave enough to breathe again. A few relatives avoided eye contact. Others suddenly remembered my name. One uncle walked up and laughed lightly. "So, Ahmed, right? We were just talking about you." I nodded. Didn't answer. The cousin who mocked me earlier finally stood up. He walked toward me slowly, holding a drink he wasn't even sipping. "Hey man," he said. "I didn't know you were connected like that." Connected. That was the word he chose. I looked at him calmly. "I never said I wasn't." He forced a smile. "Yeah, well, family, right?" I didn't respond. Because at that moment, the announcement microphone turned on. The host cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?" The room quieted instantly. My sister stood near the stage, holding her fiancé's hand. She looked nervous. She didn't know either. The host continued. "Tonight's engagement celebration is special, for more reasons than one." People leaned forward, curious again. "And we're honored to have a very special guest with us," he said. "The CEO of Orion Holdings." The room reacted immediately. Whispers. Gasps. Phones came out. The CEO stepped back inside, walked straight toward the stage. Then he did something no one expected. He didn't stand beside the host. He stopped and looked directly at me. "Before we continue," he said, "I'd like to recognize someone." My heart didn't race. I already knew. This event, he continued, and this partnership wouldn't exist without him. The room froze. He raised his hand, pointed to Ahmed. A wave of shock moved through the hall. My sister turned and looked at me. Her eyes widened. Her fiancé looked confused. The CEO spoke again. "He's the lead investor behind our new expansion. The one who made the merger possible." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. I could feel it now. Not laughter. Not mockery. Fear. Regret. Realization. The cousin beside me whispered, "Wait. You?" I didn't look at him. The CEO smiled slightly. "Ahmed prefers to stay out of the spotlight," he said. "But tonight, he deserves it." The room erupted into applause. Not because they wanted to. Because they had to. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I simply stood there. And for the first time that night, no one underestimated me anymore. The applause slowly faded. People sat back down, still processing what they had just heard. The energy in the hall had shifted again. But this time, it was different. Heavier. I walked away from the stage and stood near the side of the room. That's when they came. One by one. An uncle approached first, smiling too much. "I always knew you'd do something big," he said. "You just had that look about you." I nodded politely. He walked away. Then another relative. "And here we were worrying about you," she said softly. "Turns out you were ahead of all of us." I didn't answer. The cousin. The same one who laughed at me earlier. He stood in front of me, silent for a moment. Then said, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken like that." I looked at him. Really looked at him. "I know," I said. Nothing more. Across the room, my sister finally broke free from the crowd. She walked toward me, eyes still wide. "Ahmed," she whispered. "Why didn't you tell me?" I smiled for the first time that night. "Because tonight was about you," I said. She hugged me tight. The CEO joined us again. "We should head out soon," he said quietly. "Tomorrow will be busy." I nodded. As we walked toward the exit, the hall parted. People stepped aside. No jokes. No whispers. Just silence. Near the door, I paused. Turned back. For one last look. The same room. The same people. But now, they saw me differently. And that's when I realized something. Nothing about me had changed that night. No sudden success. No surprise miracle. The only thing that changed was what they finally understood. Voice slows, reflective tone. Respect doesn't come from explaining yourself. It comes when you let time speak for you. We stepped outside into the cool night air. The noise of the hall faded behind us. Cars lined the entrance. Flashing lights. Quiet respect. The CEO opened his car door and paused. "You handled that well," he said. "Most people would have said something sooner." I shook my head. There was no need. As the car pulled away, I looked back at the building one last time. That place had once made me feel small. Tonight, it didn't have that power anymore. I checked my phone. A message from my sister. "I'm proud of you." I smiled. That was enough. Life has a strange way of testing people. Sometimes, it puts you in rooms where you're misunderstood, judged, dismissed. Not because you're incapable, but because your chapter hasn't been read yet. The truth is, you don't owe anyone explanations. You don't need to announce your plans. You don't need to prove yourself to people who decided your worth too early. Let them laugh. Let them doubt, let them underestimate you. Because when the time comes, your results will speak in a language no one can interrupt. If this story connected with you, if you've ever been the quiet one in the room, remember this. Silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. And if you enjoy stories like this, stories about patience, timing, and silent success, make sure you subscribe. Because sometimes the strongest comeback is simply showing up as yourself.